I got word that Pat McAfee is coming to ESPN. And there's a lot of people that had a lot of questions about that. They heard the number being offered, reported by the New York Post and various other publications, 5 years, around $85 million. Of course, ESPN, as is its typical position, declined to comment on the figures in the deal, of course. The Pat McAfee Show will be on ESPN's cable channel, on ESPN's free YouTube channel, and on its direct-to-consumer streaming service, ESPN+. The deal replaces the FanDuel sponsorship deal that Pat McAfee had, which was reportedly for 4 years and $120 million. FanDuel has not addressed the McAfee situation, nor did they explain its view on how their deal with Pat McAfee dissolved. The deal, reportedly, averages about $17 million a year, according to the New York Post. ESPN will receive 230 fully produced shows a year that it can sell advertising against. And the one other point that the article made in the New York Post, it doesn't say who wrote it here, but in all likelihood, it was written by Andrew Marchand, who's usually on top of these matters. It says the athletes are now putting on the sports shows, evident with the McAfee agreement, similar to Peyton Manning's Omaha Productions. Peyton Manning does his Monday Night Football cast with his brother Eli, but he is also the lead producer on Peyton's Places, on the Peyton Places series, among other things. First of all, props to Peyton Manning. My show, The NBA is Stephen A's World, is produced by my production company, Mr. SAS Productions, in concert with Omaha Productions, who obviously has a deal with ESPN. And Peyton Manning was on my show last night. I love working with the Mannings. I love them as people. I love them as professionals. They're just phenomenal. And I got a lot of love and respect for them. So let me throw that out there. That's number one. Number two, Pat McAfee. The reason why people were clamoring for me to chime in about him is because you have so many people that are looking at what he's getting paid. It's no secret that even though you don't know the numbers that I make, even though I'm sure a lot of you think you know, it's clearly more than I'm making. Stephen A., what do you have to say about that? Two things. Number one, I don't give a damn. He negotiated his deal a few weeks ago. I negotiated my deal a few years ago. Climate is different. Market is different. Different things are happening. The situation is not the same. That's only one of the reasons it's not the same. Now, I know there are those of you that will sit up there and say, that's BS. Disney announced months ago it's laying off 7,000 people. It's trying to make up for $5.5 billion in losses because of the pandemic, where parks were closed and movie theaters were closed and revenue was compromised and stuff like that. And anybody under the Disney umbrella has to pay a price. How could they go and they can make a deal like this? How many times have I told y'all I'm a big boy? I've been to hell and back. This does not faze me at all, for several reasons. Number one, Pat McAfee deserves it. You looking for some haterade here, wrong place. Pat McAfee has been doing the Pat McAfee Show for 6 years. He's got over 2 million subscribers on YouTube. People watch him. People enjoy him, particularly the younger demographic, not to mention the fact he does a phenomenal job on College Football Game Day. But even saying that, that's not my biggest point. My biggest point, to make sure that I point out to everybody, because I want you to grasp this, because I want y'all to learn from this. I'm not here just to tell you where I stand and how I feel. I'm not just here to talk to you about issues percolating in the world of sports, Pop culture and entertainment, politics, social issues, news, current news events, etc., etc. It's not just about talking to you about how I feel about those things. It's about giving you an opportunity to be enlightened by the experiences that I've had, because let's face reality. Even in the year 2023, there ain't too many black folks in my position who've been exposed to the things, the situations, and the people that I have been exposed to. You know how many times I've said to you, I ain't selling out, I'm looking out? Do you know why I say that? Because I abhor and I get easily disgusted by people who are quick to tell you what path to take, knowing they're leading you down a dead end. If I'm successful, my obligation to you is to show you and tell you what I know so I can help facilitate your success, because I don't want to be at the top alone. I don't want my life resembling I Am Legend with Will Smith, where the streets are empty and everything looks deserted and nobody's prospering. What damn good is that? I want everybody to succeed. I just want to succeed too. And I want to be considered one of the tops, if not the top, at what I feel in salary and everything else. But I got to do my due diligence. See, we're looking at Disney and we're looking at things all wrong. Pat McAfee has a business. It's his podcast, his show. He owns it. He produces it. His studio in Indianapolis is his. The people who work for him, he employs them. People are looking at it like ESPN hired Pat McAfee. They made an acquisition because the potential is there for him to make more money than some other shows were making. And when you're in those positions, you make decisions every day. I can't believe the hate that people were throwing in Pat McAfee's direction. For what? Ladies and gentlemen, to accomplish what he accomplished, being a punter in the National Football League and then ultimately putting all of this stuff together for 6 years, he had to bet on himself. He had to take a chance and a risk. He had to flop and potentially fail and to open himself to scrutiny and criticism and skepticism before he got to this place. He did that. Hate on him? I admire what he has done. I respect what he has done. So much so that I'm doing it. I told y'all at the top of the show, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I got damn near 130,000 subscribers. I've only been doing this 4 months. Only been doing it 4 months. But here I come. It's people like Pat McAfee I get to thank for that. He ain't the only one. Dan Patrick's done it. Joe Rogan has done it. Bill Simmons has done it. There's a host of other people. Those are just names that come off the top of my head. They've done it. There's no hate. I respect it. Thank you for playing a part in showing the way and the wave of the future. I'm the star of the #1 sports morning show in America for the last 11 and a half consecutive years. I'm on NBA Countdown on ABC at ESPN. I've been blessed and fortunate enough that everything I've touched in the last 8 to 10 years makes money. Doesn't cost money. That's business. ESPN doesn't owe me an explanation. They owe no one an explanation. They're in the business to try and make money. And in the process of doing so, decisions are made. Costs get cut. Things get reconfigured. Bodies rise and fall. The greatest thing, as I've said weeks ago, I didn't know it at the time, but the greatest thing that ever happened to me in my adult life was when ESPN let me go in 2009. Because I didn't know my business. I didn't master my business. I had no clue about my worth, my marketability, or anything in between. And I made sure to rectify that. You got folks looking at me, Stephen A., what you gonna do? I know you're pissed off. You are so wrong. I got a lot of love for Pat McAfee. I got a lot of love for all my colleagues. They are special. It's a host of them doing big things. And I ain't gonna mention all the names because I don't want to leave anybody out. But it's a new era. It's a new day. Don't hate on the people who show you a new way. Appreciate them. I appreciate Pat McAfee. My contract is up in 2 years. I'll have my opportunities to get my own. You know anything about me. You know how I like my money, right? How much of a capitalist I am, right? You think I'm looking at Pat McAfee and I'm upset? I'm thankful. Thank you. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you very, very much. Today is your turn. Tomorrow's mine. That's how I think about it. That's not throwing any shades, any threats, or anything like that. It's accepting and embracing business. I wake up every day. My mentality and my motto has not changed. Every day I wake up. How do I make my bosses more money? How do I get some of it? And I'll add a third one. How can I position myself to get more of what I know I deserve? Even if it's through ownership on my part, which would require me to bet on myself and take risk and falter and fail and rise and succeed. That's what Pat McAfee did. And that's why ESPN went and got him. Mainly Jimmy Pitaro, my boss, who's a hell of an executive and an even better person. It's never been bad to me. And we ain't gonna even talk about how I feel about Bob Iger. We go back a long ways. He's on another stratosphere to me, the greatest executive I've ever known. But that don't mean they're going to keep me. Nor does it mean I might want to stay. Business is business. The Pat McAfees, the Bill Simmons, the Joe Rogans of the world, the list goes on and on. Hey, they've shown different ways. Don't hate, y'all. Emulate. You'd be surprised where it gets you.